Shalom. Salam. Paz. Peace. And justice. We all know that the people who wrote the Constitution remembered a rebellion against the king. And because of that, they wrote a Constitution in which the king was challenged, they hoped, by Congress and by the Supreme Court. But it didn't begin then, this notion that a king could become dangerous and needed to be checked. 2,500 years ago, in the Bible, in the book of Deuteronomy, there's a whole passage that says kings can become dangerous. For example, kings can pour contempt on their own people. Do we know a king like that?
Yes.
They said kings might pile up silver and gold for themselves by misusing their office. Do we know a king like that?
Yes.
They said the king might insist on taxing people to buy what in those days horse chariots for his imperial army. It's like jet bombers with H-bombs today. Do we know a king like that?
Yes.
And they said a king might use his power and his honor dishonorably by piling up many women for himself. Do we know a king like that?
Yes.
So they said there must be an independent body to check his power. And that independent body for them was a gathering of the priests of that day. Today, it's the Supreme Court that has to fulfill that obligation. Imagine Ms. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg constantly overseeing the power of this king. So we have to have a Supreme Court that can do that. Not one that is a rubber stamp for the modern version of a king who piles up women, who piles up his own money, who piles up his own contempt for even his own people, who piles up an army and taxes the whole community to pay for an aggressive army, not for defense. We need to have a Supreme Court like that. And that Supreme Court must not have Judge Kavanaugh on it. That's our job. And it's the job of members of Congress, not only the Senate, but if members of Congress began saying, until this nomination is put aside till next January, after a new Congress takes office, till then, we will call every vote to be a roll call vote. We will refuse to agree to the reading, to not reading the journal. We must put every blockage in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee from the House as well as the Senate to make sure that it is after the people speak that we will then be able to have a Supreme Court that is as independent as the Bible demanded. So we need to call on those people. What the Bible didn't imagine was that the people themselves would rise to make these demands. But that's our job. Our job is that justice be the core of the next justice of the Supreme Court.